Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? Hope you guys are doing great. My name is Jason Krutzky. It is a pleasure to be here with you guys today, this momentous day. It's Tuesday. We have Thanksgiving in just 2 days, and there are few more important things happening in the world of trading and stocks, markets than this name right here. NVIDIA earnings going to be coming through the wire in about 15 minutes. And it feels like we talked about this yesterday. Were we live? Yeah, we were live yesterday. We talked about this yesterday. It feels like a big inflection point, you know? I don't know if anybody saw the little short analysis video that we posted on our Twitter feed, TrendSpider's Twitter feed earlier this morning. But I made a little quick video that kind of talked about everything that we were seeing. Maybe we'll take 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes or so and kind of like go through that stuff. You know, it's been a huge move off of the October lows, right? It's been 3 weeks or something, and you know, it hasn't been that long. And this thing has gained 27% off of those lows. Pretty impressive. Now, I know that there are a lot of names that have done that, but then this begs the question, well, it's coming into earnings. You know, is this common for NVIDIA to run like this into earnings? Well, what we found out actually is that at least earnings in November, it is actually relatively common for this to happen. On TrendSpider, we can utilize the strategy tester to kind of gain an understanding of this. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to define for my entry earnings within the next 25 days. And I'm going to define my exit as earnings within the next day, just so that we're out before earnings. I'm just trying to see earnings run-ups here. And this is what we get. And let me zoom this out a little bit so we can see a little bit more data. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I didn't even really realize that this was the reality, but the 2021 November earnings run up right here, this big bad boy. 26% move from it wasn't even October lows, but this is 2021, 26% move for the 2021 November earnings. 2022 November earnings, same idea, 27.32% move. So this is not all that uncommon to see a move like this in November into earnings. It's happened the exact same way the past 2 years, this particular quarter, which surprised me. I didn't realize that until I played around with it. Now, folks, we're talking a lot about the CEO selling. If we pull up the insider trading widget here, we can see that old Jensen Huang. And many apologies to Jensen Huang if I've pronounced your name wrong, sir. I'm very sorry. But we saw him selling in September. At the beginning of September, that's this little section of the chart right in here, from like the 1st to the 14th. Now, the reason why people were kind of curious about this, or why maybe some people were concerned about this, was because he did this. He sold on the heels of just a blowout earnings report that came in August. So he sold into those all-time highs. You know, CEOs sell for all kinds of reasons. They sell because they need new mansions and yachts and who knows, other reasons. Perhaps this isn't that big of a deal. We hadn't seen him selling at all in the year prior. So this is the first time we've seen him selling. He sold about $100 million worth of shares during that 2 or so week September sprint. Price ended up catching a bid at the 150 SMA right here. And it's really kind of, it's liked this 150 SMA previously. But yeah, so price caught a bid at that 150 SMA, and it's been uppies ever since. And, you know, maybe it's not much of a surprise. Seasonality. If we look at seasonality, well, November, strongest month of the year, tied with August. 76% win rate historically over the past 25 years. If we add mean change to this, your mean change in November's 11.11%. Pretty impressive. So, you know, what is seasonality telling us? Well, seasonality is telling us that perhaps right now is a fantastic time to be unloading shares as you come into the seasonal weakness, specifically in January. Maybe we see, I don't know what kind of move we're going to get. And I'm curious to know what you guys think. We got about 10 minutes before, I assume, I actually don't know exactly what time the earnings announcement is, if it's like right at 2 or right at 4, if it's like 4:30 or so. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. You know, this is kind of how I would be thinking about seasonality is, you know, you want to be selling into this strength and then you want to be buying weakness. So potentially, maybe if there is a big move higher on this earnings announcement, maybe that's going to be an opportunity for people to unload shares with the idea that they'll be buying them back in the January doldrums to try and catch this nice move that we often see in February, 68% green in February. What's up, Bo? How's it going? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So glad you love using TrendSpider. Is there a way to see the current price in a quote window? And also, is there a way to reorganize the watch list items manually? All right, so current price in a quote window. I'm not exactly certain what you mean by that. So you might have to enlighten me as to your thoughts there. When it comes to reorganizing the watch list manually, what I think that you mean by that, I think that you mean grabbing names and dragging them and moving them around. Unfortunately, that's not possible. You can, any watch list that you've created. So let me grab a watch list that I've made here. Hold on one sec. So there's just some random watch list. If I come in here and I edit it, in theory, I could take these names and I could move them, you know, delete one, add it somewhere else. Oops, that didn't work. But you see what I'm saying? I could do it. I could manually change the order in here, but I cannot manually change the order by clicking and dragging. Now you can click symbol, and that's going to filter them alphabetically or inverse alphabetically, whatever you want. You can alter, or you can filter them by last price. So from the lowest price to the highest price to the lowest price, and then percentage change. And there's actually a bunch of new values that we've added. You've got last price, change value, change percentage versus 52-week low, and so on. I mean, seeing the current stock price in a bigger window. That's an interesting request. No, there is not a way to do that. Let me see if there's any way to make it bigger. My guess is that's going to be a no too. No, there's not a way to do that, Bo. I'm sorry. Hey, Jason, where would you see, hey, Angel, where would you see percentage change since open, not before previous day? Yeah, Bo, no problem. I'm sorry that I couldn't be more helpful. Bo, I'll tell you what, though, make this request. Let me show you. Let me turn off my camera real quick. Right here where it says contact us, click that button. Send your request right here to our support team. They are live every single day, Monday through Sunday. They would be happy to field your request. You can let them know that you know it's not possible, but that you just like to make the request to the development team, and they will send that request into the development team. So they're available for you. You can also ask them questions. You know, they're a lively bunch there, and they're happy to help however they can. Now, Angel. Cool, Bo. Percentage change since open. Let me see if that's something that we've added. Let me see what this change value is, because I think change value is percentage change since open, but let me make sure. I might have to ask about that. Let me see. I'm just going to go to a name here. First name on the list. Ooh, I got a lot of junk on this chart. My bad. You know, these values are brand new. We just added them the other day, so I'm actually not certain Yeah, this is percentage change relative to yesterday's close. No. Is that off the... Where did we open? Maybe this is off the open. I'm learning in real time, just like you guys. Let's see if this is right. No, that's not right. I'm going to have to ask about that because I actually am not certain. Let's turn this off. Turn this off too. Let's just use these two. Well, hold on. Okay. Yeah, so change percentage as it is right now is the value from yesterday's close, but this percentage, I'm actually not certain. Let me ask. Angel, I'm going to ask for you real quick. I'm going to hit up my good friend Russ on the dev team. We are getting close here to the close. We do not want to miss this. All right, Angel. Yeah, Angel. Man, I'm or Miss. I don't know. There's always something new. These guys, our development team's adding new things all the time, and I don't know. I don't know. Absolutely, I am a product expert, but I don't know where absolutely every single last thing is and what every single last thing means. So we're gonna learn together on this. I should hear back from him soon, and I will circle back with you on that. So I'm going to flip back to NVIDIA here because I feel like, I mean, are you guys here for any other reason but to watch NVIDIA earnings? Realistically, this is the most important thing happening in the market. So I want to be paying attention to it. Obviously, it's going to potentially affect where the indices go here in the days and weeks to come. What are y'all's expectations? What are you thinking? Are you expecting a blowout earnings report? I know a lot of the smart people in the room that I hear from are definitely expecting big things out of this earnings report. Now, just because people are expecting another blowout earnings did not necessarily mean that we're going to get the move that would come along with that, right? If we look back real quick, let me run back to the daily just for a split second. Those two other earnings reports that we talked about, this move in 2021 in November, this pretty much marked the high for a year. And then the move coming off of those lows into the 2022 November earnings, really that marked the low. It continued to extend, it pulled back a little, and it was off to the races. So it's interesting how for the past 2 years, those November earnings have marked highs and really, really kind of pivotal highs and lows for the most part. I mean, not perfectly. The 2021 November earnings definitely marked the high. But then the 2022 November earnings kind of gave us the move out of those lows and you know, took us to where we are today. So perhaps this one, who knows, since the other two were so important, maybe this one will be a big nothing burger. I don't know. What are y'all's expectations? I'm really curious to know what you guys think. I know we got the weekly. I'm going to just pop over to two charts here so we can keep an eye on the daily, or rather on the 1 minute chart. But on that weekly chart, you know, you've got this big 1.618 extension from those all-time highs. Key level for the bulls. They've managed to kind of get back trading above it. Of course, they made a new all-time high yesterday. So this is going to be a really big spot for the bulls to hold. If they can hold this thing, the 2x, 586. It's a big move. Another $100 higher. You can see how NVIDIA has been on an insane run. Yeah, it really is. It's pretty darn impressive. With charts that look like this, I always like to put it in log scale because this kind of just breaks things down a little bit. It breaks down the move a little bit. This is from 2013. So like where it's come since then is really, really incredible. But it brings this move into perspective, right? The move that we've seen over the past year. It brings that move into perspective when you know where it came from, you know, a decade ago. It makes this move feel less extreme, I guess. That's kind of the point of log scale, in my opinion. That's what I use log scale for, is to see the move in relative terms. So do you guys have opinions? Do you have, what do you think? Are you guys trading this? Are you not trading this? Are you sidelines? Are you chilling? I'm not trading this. I've learned. I've made so many mistakes in that way, trying to trade days like today. So I'm staying on the sidelines personally, but I'm curious what you guys are up to. Also, I'm curious, any other TrendSpider questions? You know, really, that's kind of a big part of why I'm here, is to answer any questions. Got a couple of them from Bo and Angel. But if you guys have any other things you want to discuss or talk about, or you want to learn more about, just please do let me know. Hit me up in the chat and let me know. So I'm going to do something real quick here. So initial move a little bit higher. But I don't think we have... Don't think we have an announcement just yet. Let me see if I can find out what time they report. Yeah, so the expectation is $3.37 per share earnings, revenues of $16.18 billion. Those are the expected numbers. Not seeing anything about a specific time. If you guys happen to know a specific time, let me know. I'm curious. Executives will discuss the results on a conference call starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. So perhaps we're going to get them at 5:30. This is funny. This is how I... A friend just posted a Mr. Bean meme of him sitting in the grass looking at his clock. And it said everybody waiting for NVIDIA earnings. That's funny. Implied vol is 90. I'm on the edge of my seat here, y'all. What are they gonna do? Let's do something while we're waiting. I'm gonna look up some NVIDIA options here. Just kind of curious if there's anything that came in that was kind of out of the ordinary. So I'm gonna look for. As you guys know, whenever I'm here looking at unusual options, I'm looking at the premium amount. So how much did they spend? And then I'm looking at size. Just kind of curious, like how much of the open interest did these orders take up? I'm always interested in ones that have quite a large percent of the open interest. So this one's kind of big, $150,000, 12% of the open interest, 1,600 contracts. Expiring on the 24th, 600 call. That might just be a small bet for a big time fella or lady trader. There's a $400,000, a $500,000 trade on the 510 call. Oh no, yeah, it was the call, but there's a bearish sweep at the bid. Okay, there's a mill on the 500 strike. This one expires January 19. Still no news. They are dragging their feet here, huh? It's not too much trouble. I would like for them to include the dollar index. Man. Shoo. Mr. Hedge Fund. So would I. So would I. There is an alternative. It's not the greatest alternative, but it is an alternative. Let me grab something real quick. I'll throw it up. I just don't want to break away here from the NVIDIA chart. But UUP is like the ETF that tracks it. The problem with the UUP, I understand, is that it doesn't track it perfectly. So there are instances where the dollar will make a new high and the UUP won't. Or the UUP will make a new high and the dollar won't. So if you are a price action trader, then that's a little bit problematic. But there is a proxy, UUP, that you can use. I understand, though, it's not the dollar index. Many have requested it. And I'm certain that we'll add it eventually. I just can't speak to exactly when, unfortunately. Still nothing. I just know the second that I look at this UUP chart is the second that they announce earnings and we get the move. So I don't want to break away, Mr. Hedge Fund. Yeah, but here I'll show you. I'm just going to send you this so you can kind of see it. Here's the UUP chart. I don't know if you're playing around with things on your end, but there's a UUP chart. Like I said, it's not exactly DXY. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but it is at least a decent proxy. You can use it as a visual cue throughout the day for what is loosely going on over on the US dollar. But I do understand. I know it's not perfect. So anybody else playing this thing? Are you guys going for it, or are you sidelines? Where's y'all's heads at? Anybody take 0 DTE or tomorrow expiry NVIDIA options? Are any of the folks who placed these orders in our unusual options registry here, are any of y'all on the call or on the live stream right now? Is this any of y'all? I really want to know. Here's a couple of big orders. The 500 calls, 5 mil. Oh no, these aren't 5. Yeah, no. Whoa, 70 strike calls. 4 mil. Neutral in the money, of course. Interesting. One for January 19 expiry, one for June expiry. So next year, looking out quite a ways. Fortunes will be made and lost. I mean, yeah, it's very possible. You know, you could get a really muted response, but I don't know. I kind of don't expect it. I expect some volatility here when they announce. I'm expecting a pretty decent move in one direction or another. $4.20. Okay. Every single person that I follow on FinTwit is posting pictures of people eating popcorn and NVDA ticker. Literally every single person. None of y'all trading this? There's a handful of y'all in here now. Are any of you guys holding? And if so, what are you thinking? So somebody posted that earnings were coming at 420. Looks like a lot of folks are expecting a move higher just from looking at things. What's up, Sonia? Dang, it's been a minute since I've seen your name. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope your predictions have been going well. I'm sure they have been. Future's kind of fading. You're doing excellent. Now mostly on Bookmap Channel ES. Talk to me about Bookmap Channel ES. What's the story there? I've heard a lot about Bookmap, but I've not actually looked into it. Sonia, what's your target for NVIDIA? We're not talking about Tesla right now. What you got for NVIDIA? This is what we need to know. This is the key ticker. It's the most important thing that's going to happen in the stock market today. It's right now. NVIDIA. Sonia coming with Tesla targets. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Cool. Yeah, I'm curious to know what you're thinking. Still nothing. We are all waiting with bated breath. Still nothing, huh? Tomorrow, yeah. See, that's, yeah. For sure, Bo. I agree. I'm interested to see, you know, obviously we're gonna get a move. But then will the move stick? You know? The eternal question, will the move stick? Just because we get a nice move doesn't mean it works. Brian Pike, what's up? You've not liquidated any more of NVIDIA after covering your initial 30K. Look at you go. Baller. Well done, Brian. So you're still holding from $137? That is wildly impressive. Let me ask you guys this. Who all here is a TrendSpider trader? How many of you guys utilize TrendSpider right now? And how many of you guys are like on the sidelines considering it, thinking about it, contemplating it? We're fixing to find out, Brian. We are fixing to find out. I really have no opinion here. I have no expectation. That big monthly or weekly 1.618 fib level, hugely important, I think. It's a key level for the bulls. Bears. There were a handful of things that that I was seeing on the monthly. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but let me add. You guys notice this? Huge bearish divergence on RSI on the monthly. Doesn't mean it has to play out, but it is kind of interesting. And then the daily was kind of looking like a Wyckoff thing to me. 449. All right, we're going higher. Initial move through 500s. Oh, a little bit of vol here, huh? EPS of $4.02, beating expectations of $3.37. Revenue $18.1 billion, beating expectations of $16.1 billion. And the stock is dropping on the news. That is interesting. That is interesting. Stock dropping on good news. So what does that tell you? I guess that tells us that this was priced in, huh? Futures getting hit. ES Futures just made a new low. Brian, I agree with you, man. Everybody needs it. Sonia, 449 pending target. Sonia, you might be right here. Is it going to recover? Is it not going to recover? Kind of interesting to see that move, though. You would have thought that the initial reaction would have been much better than that. Beat on earnings by 70 cents. Beat on revs by 2 billion. Arun, yeah. I mean, that's what it certainly is looking like. Big sell the news. I mean, 27% in like 3 weeks this thing has gained. 27%. And you had the CEO selling last quarter, which is kind of interesting. So now I guess it all boils down to the call. 100 per only. I know you have very, very exact targets. Arun, SPX chart. $sign SPX. All index charts are going to be $sign first. You betcha. No problem. So you say, let's see here, Sonny, you said 449. I mean, I like that spot. That's a great spot. Kind of in here. That is 440. but would be an interesting spot to try for sure. All right, Sonia, have a great one. Good to see you. What's the one strategy in TS that works most of the time? Arun, you got to know there's no such thing as that. However, there are lots of strategies that are relatively consistent. The thing about strategies that you have to remember is that there is no strategy that works most of the time. And if it does work most of the time, what's probably a reality for that strategy is that it doesn't profit that much. Like the return that you're going to get on a strategy that works most of the time is probably not very high. It's a balancing act, right? That we're doing when we create strategies. You're giving up the amount of time that it works, or the percentage of time that it works, for return. So that's your balance. That's how you determine proper risk reward. Is you don't have to have a really profitable strategy, or rather a really profitable strategy does not have to be one that works all the time or works even most of the time. Some of the most profitable strategies work only a very small amount of the time. We can talk through a few ideas if everybody's cool with it, since now we know what happened on NVIDIA. If you guys want to spend a few minutes, I'm totally down to talk through some ideas. Let me get some music. Let me make sure what's going on with my music here. Ah, I see. We've just run out. All right, so we're going to start it back up. If you guys are down to kind of talk through some strategy stuff, we totally can. I can show you how you can use the strategy tester to kind of figure out the question that you have. How people make money consistently. Well, I would argue that people make money consistently by managing risk. That's like literally the number one thing. Yeah. So, all right. Just a couple, I want to make sure everybody's cool. Are we cool to jump to strategy tester info for just a little bit here? I know, Arun, I want to talk you through a few ideas, and I'll share a few ideas with you. Arun, are you on TrendSpider right now? Are you a TrendSpider trader, or are you kind of considering it? What are you thinking here? Because if you are a TrendSpider trader, then I'm going to link you to our Discord. It's right here. Join our official Discord. Click that and join it. Because I post strategies in our Discord. I share strategies that I come up with. All right, I haven't heard from anybody else, so I'm just going to jump into this for just a bit here. All right, so I'm just going to pull up this one. This is one that I've been showing. I made this one a couple weeks ago for Apple. And the reason why I thought this one was kind of interesting, let me turn some things off here. We got a lot of stuff going on that is not relevant to this strategy. All right, so this particular strategy on Apple, it's kind of interesting. All I'm doing here on this strategy is I'm buying. It's actually really dumb, but it works. So maybe it's not dumb. It's very simple. How come? This is strange. Hold on one second. Oh, okay. I see. My bad. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay, so let's talk about this. This particular strategy that I built on Apple. Very simple, very basic. I'm buying when price closes 2 times over the 115 SMA. Why did I choose the 115 SMA? Literally because I looked at the chart and I saw that price happens to spend decent periods of time above and below it. So I said to myself, well, if price spends decent period of time above and below it, then there's probably some alpha there. I can probably get something out of this. So made it super simple. I'm not going to go through like the process of go to announcements, Arun. go to announcements and scroll up, and you'll see there's like 4 of them in there that I've posted recently. On the exit side, I'm just getting out when price closes below that moving average. Right, really, really simple. But then I utilized a stop loss and a take profit. I figured out the stop loss and take profit that I wanted to use by looking at this price behavior explorer chart. If you guys want me to, I can like break this thing down for you. We can like build it again, and I can show you how I built it. But since we're just talking about like how people become profitable, I want to show you this because this strategy does not win very often. 26% of the time, 26% of the trades that this thing takes, it's our winning trades. However, the amount that we win, our average win, well, it's a 30-minute strategy. So it just depends, Arun. Sometimes you're going to be swinging it multiple days. We can look at average length is 11 candles. So 11 30-minute candles. So like a day, essentially, about a day. So yes, but you know, it may enter at 1:30 in the afternoon. And if the average candle length or the average time that you're in this trade is 11 candles, then that gets you out the next day around that same time on average, right? It doesn't necessarily buy at right when the market opens. It buys when the conditions are true. But 11 candles is the average length of this trade. So 320 positions, of which only 26% are winning trades. However, that number, that percentage is weighted by the fact that on average, when I win 1.96%. On average, when I lose 0.43. So you see the disparity there. You're talking about I win 4x, 5x as much as I lose on average. My risk to reward ratio is 4.58. So that means that for every dollar I'm risking, my reward is I'm risking $1 to make 4.58. So what that allows me to do, it allows me to lose a lot and still come out on top. The blue equity curve here, this is the strategy. The white and red and green line is the asset. So you can see just over the past, this goes back, I guess, 2-ish years. Yeah, 26 months of Apple data here. Oops. I'm totally trumping buy and hold on Apple, and Apple's been strong, you know, like relatively speaking, Apple's been pretty darn strong, and I'm beating it by, well, you can see Apple gained 35.7% over that 2-year period. This strategy gained 167.4% over that same period. Now, the next thing that I can do with this, if I want to, is I can try it on different time frames to see, like, well, okay, I know it works well on the 30-minute. How does it work on the hourly? How does it work on the 15-minute? I usually when I start building strategy, I almost always start on the 15-minute. Not that that's necessarily the right thing to do. It's just what I usually do. Well, Arun, we'll get to that. I built it for Apple. You can test it on anything you want. I built this right before Apple earnings to share for Apple earnings. That's why it's on Apple, is because I shared it right around Apple earnings. If we look at the equity curve over a 4-year period, this is the hourly chart. We beat buy and hold by like, what, 3.5x or so ish, 772% versus 187 on the asset. I could take this and I can move it around too. So the strategy tester looks back from right now, looking back, right? But I can define a date range. So when you're building strategies, what is recommended, or what I tend to recommend, is try playing around with it on different periods of time. A truly durable strategy is going to work across market conditions. Now, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do, to build a strategy that works across lots of different market conditions. That's why we always say it's best to back test a long period of time. That's why I pretty much always use the 7,000 candle range. But still, again, it's looking from essentially today and looking back 7,000 hourly candles. So the past 4 years of data. This includes COVID, the big COVID drop in 2020. Like, it's taking into account a lot. But Totally, Brian. I mean, the thing is like once you start breaking stuff down like this, you start wondering why you're doing it manually. I mean, truly, right? Like you start wondering why you do it manually. This totally takes all of your emotion out of the equation. It just is math. But what I was getting at was you can test it across other periods of time. So I could come back and say, well, how did this strategy perform from 2008 to, I don't know, to 2012? Maybe it performed well, maybe it performed poorly. I've never tested it. I don't know. You can go back in time though and look in different market conditions and say, yeah, this strategy works in conditions that are very similar to right now. Right? Historically, it worked in conditions that are very similar to right now. If we go on a tear, if we make new all-time highs on the indices and we just start running, everything is making new all-time highs, you got to go back in time and test a period of time where that happened, where a really important new all-time high was made and things started to run, right? You want to be looking at periods of time that make sense relative to the period of time that you're in. So when we look back 2008 to 2012, the strategy actually crushes. Like it beats buy and hold by almost 3x. That's pretty impressive, right? And you can, again, you might want to check it in like a full-on bull market. Maybe we want to go from 2012 to 2016. I don't know. The idea is just to try lots of different things and test it over lots of different periods of time. The more durable strategies are going to perform relatively similarly, regardless of the time that they're in. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And another thing that I'm always looking for. All right, so here's a good example from 2012 to 2016. Let's go on the weekly here and see what Apple was doing in 2012 to 2016, because I don't know off the top of my head, but let's see. So here's 2012 to 2016-ish, about here. Pretty extensive move from 13 bucks to 25 bucks. So we doubled throughout 2012. We gave it all back, and then we tripled-ish into 2015 and gave about half of it back. So what we know is that during that period of time, we still beat buy and hold by almost 3x. So Apple's returns weren't as nice, but the performance of this strategy was pretty nice. So now we've tested like multiple 4-year periods with totally different market conditions, and this strategy is working in all 4 of them. The issue here on this one is this. So in the strategy tester, it's always going to tell you if there is a blaring problem with your strategy, because you got to know that. I just noticed the sun on my face here. I look interesting. You got to know if there are blaring problems with your strategy, and our strategy tester does a good job of letting you know by way of what we call no-go highlighting. Any value that is marked red like this is letting you know that, hey, there is a serious red flag in your strategy. Do not use this strategy. It is not safe at this time. And you can hover over that no-go highlighting value. It's the win rate. And so it's saying with a risk to reward ratio of 3.79, that's right here, we can see it. With that R ratio, we need at least 25.65% of our trades to be winners in order for this risk to reward ratio to work. So we could, in theory, come and adjust this, but this is way in the past. I don't really care to fix this. It's just something interesting to know. I'm really only interested now that I know, like, over different periods of time and different sets of market conditions, this strategy is pretty durable. That gives me more confidence to say, yeah, I'm actually willing to employ this strategy. And then from here, I can just like very quickly launch it as a bot, connect it to Signal Stack, and I'd be off to the races, letting the platform do all of this work for me. I don't even have to think about things anymore. So all that to say, Arun, a strategy does not have to win most of the time in order to be a consistently profitable trader. It has to win enough relative to your risk to reward ratio. That is the key. And what you are going to find is as the amount that you win per trade on average increases, your risk to reward ratio is going to go down. CRISPA. or KISPA. It's a super, super simple strategy. I'll share it with you. KISPA, are you on, or CHISPA? I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Are you on TrendSpider? Do you have a TrendSpider account? I'll share this with you so you have it. Here's another cool little piece of TrendSpider. I can share strategies with you with literally a link. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Hold on one sec. Okay, cool. Chispa. So click that link. It's going to take you to a page that looks like this. Click login and import right here. And then it's going to open up your account, or it's going to open up your charts. It'll be saved here in your strategies. It'll look like a link. Or it won't look like a link, but it'll have like a little link next to it that says it's a subscription. So if you wanted to, you could then take that and you could alter it if you wanted to. Arun, so I wanted to get back to your question about, is it just on Apple? Well, no. The strategies are going to work across all the names, all the tickers. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to perform the same way. It's very important to understand that they will not all perform the same way. Like, the strategy will not perform the same on every single name. But as you click through names in your watch list, the strategy is going to run on that name. And something that I've actually found, I've tested this on a handful of just these Dow Jones 30 names as I've kind of popped through here. I find that the win rate is just too low for most symbols. And what I think it boils down to, honestly, is probably adjusting your stop loss and take profit. There's probably some alpha that you can glean from like removing these, rerunning the test, getting the data back, and then looking at this chart. This chart is it's called the Price Behavior Explorer. This is going to give you, and I just have two things turned on here. I have 96% of winners and number of winning positions. So this is telling me how many positions make it, how far, and the average winning track of my winners. So the cloud, the bottom of the cloud tells me how much they'll draw down before becoming winners. I can see on this particular name, winners, 96% of the 96% of my winners, they can draw down as much as like 1.5% before turning around and becoming winners. And then the most that I'm ever going to gain from 96% of my winners is 21%. But only, 4 of my positions actually make it that far. So I start thinking about like, okay, well, I took 110 positions, only 4 of them made it to that max win. Maybe I need to look back in time and see what's more reasonable. You know, less trades made it to, or more trades make it to 9% profit or whatever. And I might need to adjust my stop loss and my take profit based off of some of those values. So I'm just gonna see right here. Set a stop of 1.5, set a take profit of 9%, and see how that affects things. Does it make the strategy perform better? Does it make it perform worse? In this case, it helped, but it still didn't really get me there. You know, you just kind of have to tool around and utilize the tools. Agree, Brian. Lots of cyclicals you can build strong strategies against. I agree. You think a lot of people try to trade equities segments that are too hard to quantify. That's very possible. You know, I think the key is really understanding what the tools are showing you and allowing the tools to help influence how you... Oh, Susie, right on. Yeah, so these graphs are actually really, really helpful to utilize. They tell you a lot about what your strategy is doing. So I'm always kind of tooling around with where, you know, okay, so I've added that stop loss, the 1.5% stop loss and a 9% take profit, right? And when I do that, then I kind of get a whole new set of data, and I see of those trades that I've taken now, Now the drawdown is 0.85% before becoming a winner. And now the max gain is like 8, or well, I guess 8.7. And really from there, it kind of trails off. Looks like 27 positions made it this far. By the time we get way out here, you know, maybe now I want to cut. Maybe I want to cut the amount of time I want to be in this trade down. Maybe I want to reduce my profit target a little bit. Maybe I want to tighten up that stop loss a little bit. So maybe I'll do that. I'll just make it like 0.9 and I'll make this, or rather I make this 0.9 and make this like, I don't know, 7 or something. There's a lot to be said for less profits and more trades. You see how that just influenced the return here? I just doubled the return. I'm still having an issue with my win percentage. So there's still a problem that I need to fix. My risk reward ratio just isn't high enough based off of how much I'm winning. So maybe what I need to do is I need to try and get out of the trade even sooner, like use a 6% take profit so that I can take more trades and potentially win more often. It's a balancing act, and you just have to kind of play that balancing act. And there's nothing wrong with playing that balancing act, you know? It's really just allowing the tool to tell you kind of how to be thinking about it. And you might find that when you start like tightening these things up, that you don't really get the thing that you're after. You don't get the return you're after. And it's very possible that maybe that name just doesn't really do it for, you know, like maybe that strategy just doesn't really do it for that name. Nothing wrong with that. A strategy that works great on Apple doesn't have to work great on every other name that you trade. You should find names that you really love to trade and then build strategies based around those names, right? That's the idea. Oh, Arun, sweet, cool. There's a bunch of them in there, and I'm kind of constantly making new ones and sharing new ones. I've kind of got a new wind under my sails for building out these things. Honestly, it's really what's the word? It's a little intimidating to try and build strategies. But what I always tell folks is like start one thing at a time. Start with something very, very simple and make micro adjustments. Make one adjustment. You know, if you start off with a moving average, you're buying this moving average, you're selling that one, or you're buying whatever it might be. Make one adjustment at a time so you know what the adjustment you're doing is, or so you know how the adjustment that you're making is affecting the strategy. Akiko, what strategy do I use? I mean, I use any strategy that I make, really. I mean, I kind of personally, I kind of focus mostly on futures trading. That's kind of where that's where I'm inspired to trade the most. But, you know, I make strategies for all kinds of different things and all kinds of different names. Arun, with an orb strategy, what does it work only in morning sessions? Why are you checking less than 1 p.m.? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Oh, so are you talking about this? You're talking about the Tesla orb? Is that what you're saying? So what this does is this gets me in on any 15-minute close greater than the 15-minute the first 15-minute candle, the opening range. This gets me in on an opening range break on Tesla, and it gets me out. Let me pull this up. I'm getting out before the end of the day. That's all I've defined here, is that I want to be out before the end of the day. I don't want this to carry on to the next day. So it says time zone is exchange time zone example 1300 for 1 p.m. So 1530 is 3:30. And since I'm using a 15-minute time frame, I define 1530 so that I get out before the close. That's the idea. It does look like, let me see here. Actually, you may have discovered something interesting. Because it looks like there are times I'm getting out on the open of the next day, which I don't want to do. Let me see something. One thing that we could do. Interesting. Let me see. Because I really don't want entries like this. The whole idea here was, I wonder if this has changed. I wonder if I have an old version of this, because I'll make them and then I'll bring them over into the TrendSpider account. I might have to look on the TrendSpider account and see. So I know that I played around with it. Initially, I wanted to like avoid entering really like later in the day. But I know that didn't perform quite as well. Let me see. All right. Yeah, I wonder if I've changed this on the strategy that I shared. I'm actually not certain. I need to go back and look at it. Okay, so I mean, regardless, the strategy still performs pretty well, even when we're getting out the day before. Now, let me see if I remove this. I'm not certain why 1530 isn't working. I need to double check that. Ah, that's kind of interesting. What this is telling us, even though I was trying to get out of the strategy before the close, what this is telling us is like buying an opening range break, even if we're holding it through the next day's open, like really is a monster trade. I mean, really a monster trade. 233% over the past, what, year versus 7% on the asset. No, and that's the thing, Arun, is it's not going to work every day. If you're employing a strategy, you have to accept that it's not always going to win. You don't win 100% of the time when you trade manually, right? I am in Mountain Standard Time. I'm in Colorado. So I think the issue is that I want to define, this is pending that you want to do it. There is not necessarily a rule here. The idea that I had for the strategy was that you would get out before the close every day. But it does work if you don't. It actually works a lot better if you don't get stopped out, if you hold it through the next day, is what the results are telling us. But perhaps we can say like time has to be less than 1300 or even 1400. You see how that takes the results down quite a bit. So there's alpha there in the overnight gap up scenario. Clearly, Tesla likes to gap up open. Otherwise, the returns wouldn't have been what they are. So then you could try a strategy of like buying in the close, selling the open. It'd be something to try. Let me see something. So earlier we were talking about We were talking about percentage change from today's open. I need to take a picture of this. Give me 1 second, guys. So, Arun, I'm hoping that did that explanation help you? Do you feel like you kind of have a bit better of an understanding? Now, are the strategies that I've shared, are they the end all be all? Absolutely not. There are zillions of strategies out there. And I'm of the mind, the simpler you can make your strategy, the better. But do you feel like you get it a little bit more? Okay, cool. And I mean, we could talk about other things, you know, like I'm going to continue doing these lives on occasion. Won't be doing them every day, but we'll continue doing them. Awesome. That's great, Arun. Oh, it's not really working. Well, that's not great. Well, let's talk through a strategy. What have you got? Share something with me. Let's play around with it. I mean, if you want to, you don't have to, but all right, share it with me. If you can't trust it, you don't care if somebody else sees it. We've talked through some ways that you can build that trust. It's all about, first off, it's all about what is the data telling you? What is tabular data telling you? Is tabular data giving you any clear warning signs? If it is, you have to listen to those, right? That's the first step. If it is not giving you any warning signs, then we have to talk about why you don't trust it. And that doesn't mean that your non-trust isn't warranted, but I'd want to talk about why you can't trust it. If the data tells you that it's a durable strategy. Arun, do you want to share a strategy with me, man? If not, you don't have to. Just wanted to put it out there. Feel like that's an additional step that we could take. Because it would be great to have you feeling confident, you know? I would like to get you there, or like to help get you there if I can. If not, though, totally cool. You know, no pressure. If not, though, I will say I am probably going to get out of here. We've been at this for a little bit. NVDA. Oh, you're trying to. So go to click on the 3 dots right here next to the save button. Say share this strategy. Refresh. Arun, refresh your browser. If you're getting an error, just refresh your browser. Still getting an error. Well, you want to talk me through the conditions? Give me the conditions, your entry and exit conditions. Give me the ticker and the time frame and how far back you're testing. And we'll look at it. Well, NVIDIA turned out to be a bit of a nothing burger. There's a big move and it got bought back up. Okay, sweet. You got it. Simple's great. I love simple. $2,500 candles. What else you got, Arun? If you want to, you could share it to my Twitter account as well. You can DM me. I'm not doing live streams every day. Why not? But I am considering doing them regularly. Obviously, we've got a huge Black Friday sale going on right now. And I want to be here as an additional voice to answer any questions that come through. I don't see the link, Arun. But why not? Yeah, so I want to be, I want to be live to kind of help answer any questions that anybody has, especially for people who are relatively new to TrendSpider or maybe on the fence. Obviously, we have this huge deal going on right now. It ends in a couple of days. So I wanted to just give an extra lifeline out there to folks who need, who maybe are on the fence and need a little bit of additional information to decide if they want to take advantage of the deal or not. But I am really enjoying doing these. I love being able to chat with you guys directly and instantly. And this is the best way I know how. Our support team, again, who I've shared down here in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to remove me for a minute. These guys are always available to answer questions. But I'm just a little extension of their team to a degree. So anyway, all that is a very long way of getting around to the fact that, yes, I have intention of doing these a little bit more regularly. Definitely through to the end of the week, through to the end of the sale. I'm going to be live as often as possible, just hanging out. And then going forward, I'm going to try and do like maybe 2 or 3 hour-long sessions a week. It's kind of the goal. So it won't be as often, but I think it'll be helpful. I'm playing around with different times as well. I'm not exactly certain what time would work best for everybody. So I want to try and make it so that, the most amount of people can attend and ask questions. Kind of leaning towards morning, like 11 a.m. Eastern or thereabouts, 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern, after the initial rush of market open has kind of died down a little bit. Because I know everybody's really focused on charts and things first thing in the morning. Arun, I've still not seen a link from you, sir, so I'm not able to access it. I see you just added me on Twitter. I'll give you a follow as well. Can't send message. Need to pay. Well, you can DM me. DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open, so you can link it there. Arun? Yeah, I guess I could do that. Just give me the back half. What's up, Flair? How you doing? Well, right now we're just kind of hanging out. My name is Jason. I'm representing TrendSpider, and I'm answering customer questions. We were going through some trading strategies and kind of how to utilize the strategy tester. Not but a few minutes ago. I'm actually about to be getting up out of here, but we'll be back again. I'm not sure if the gentleman who was asking about the change percentages here. There's change percentage from yesterday's close. Then there's change. Let's talk about this real quick because I just got an answer from our developer. Change value. This is the dollar change from yesterday's close. So there is not a value that is from today's open, but I've requested it. So we'll see if that can get added. I don't know if it'll get added, but we try. $82% off sounds like a scam. At least 20% off and have a stronger community. Well, I mean, you know, if you don't like a really killer deal, then I don't know. There's nothing I can do about that. Essentially, the 82% off is you're paying for data. That's it. I assure you, it's not a scam. It's just the best deal that we've ever offered. So, Arun, are you going to hit me with this link or what? We can always talk about it again at another time, Arun. Too. Feel free to DM me a link. So, with that, you guys, I guess I'm going to get out of here. Any other last minute questions before I roll? Arun, like I said, feel free to DM me. We can talk in the DMs about your strategy. Happy to do it. But I do want to get moving on with the rest of my day. So unless there are any other questions, I'm going to jump. Going once, going twice. How to customize a rectangle to see it in all time frames. All right, Ernesto. We're going to create ourselves a little rectangle here. Go to properties. Go to view all time frames. So I've just right clicked. Right click. Go to properties. Down here, visible on. Choose all time frames, original time frame and below. Work out for you, sir? Arun. All right, here it is. I see. Oh, yeah. We don't like this strategy, sir. So you're looking for the 3 crossing up on the 8. And you're selling the 3 crossing down on the 8. All right. And you're using it on the 5-minute. Sure thing, Ernesto, no problem. All right, so let's look back and see what's up. If we can make this any better for you. Now, clearly, it doesn't work. Negative 8.3% return versus an 8.5% return on the asset. Your win rate is not high enough. Your average return is lousy. These are clear warning signs. So how can we make it better? Well, the first thing that we want to do, let's look at our winning positions. Let's look at when this does work. Wow, 498 positions. Holy moly. This trades a lot. All right, so 96% of your winners, the best return that you're going to get on 96% of your winners is 4.8%. 58 positions actually make it to that return. After that, your returns completely fall off the map. So the first thing I would try here is, so it says 14 candles, 58 of your 498 positions made it there. So the first thing I'm going to try and do is I'm going to get out at 14 candles no matter what. Since we know that of our winners, after that point, things go downhill. So you see what we just managed to do. We cut out all of the loss. We still don't have a good strategy here. It's as simple as that. We still don't have it. Now we could go back and we can look at this and we could say, well, now 96% of our winners draw down about 0.4%. And I don't know. Let's see here. All right, so 170 make it the 6 candle point. 59 make it here. So maybe what we want to try and do is like take profit around here. You got 170 positions that make it to a 2% return. You have 59 that make it to a 4.5. It might be worth it to try. So we'll do a stop loss at like 0.5%. And let's do a take profit at like 2.5. And see, and maybe this will work. I don't know if it will. Because remember, if you're taking profit, you're getting out of trades. So then you're taking more trades, potentially. All right, so now we're beating buy and hold. 11.5% return on the strategy versus 8.5 on the asset. However, your win rate is not good enough for your risk to reward. So how can we fix that? Well, one thing that I notice here is that when it comes to equity curves, we want to try and avoid drawdowns at all cost, especially stuff like this. These huge moves down. Now, some of this stuff we can't avoid because perhaps we get into a trade and then the market closes and then it gaps down and then we're stuck, right? Our conditions are met when the market opens again, gap down. So the only way that I can think to really avoid that is to tighten your stop loss even more. Just to try and avoid it. All right, so we've tightened up the stop loss a lot. The returns are better. The win rate is still not where it needs to be. Just the return on this strategy isn't very good. So what you might want to try doing is you might want to try giving it a bit more room to breathe. You're buying this cross up, but maybe you want to sell like a different moving average. Let me do something real quick. I just want to see, because the 3 is moving a lot, right? Like if you think about what the 3 period moving average is, that thing is volatile. So I'm just adding, I just want to see them both on my chart. Sometimes it's nice to be able to see these things. Right, you want to avoid all of this junk. You want to avoid times like this. And the best way I know how to avoid times like this is to utilize a different exit signal. Like, what if you added a 21? And we look at what the 21 is doing during this time. Like, what if we said instead of the 3, I'm going to remove all of this stuff. You can remember it if you want to. It didn't get us where we needed to be. So what if we said like price close less than the 21? And let's like say for a couple of candles. We don't want it to spook us out. I don't know if this is going to work, but it's just a thought. We could go back, though, and try. Might even want to use a different one. You might want to use like a 50. Let's just see. And I'm going to just say that this has happened, not happened within. I'm also going to change that on this side too. Just that it's happened. So we could try the same process using a 0.9. 6 positions made it out here. 11 positions made it here. Yeah, so a lot of them get stopped initially, and that's because when it crosses, we're trading below that moving average. So you might have to play around with this. I would, if I were you, Arun, I would tool around with a different exit signal. Perhaps your 3-8 cross up is your entry, but I would tool around with a different exit signal. Give it a little bit of room to breathe. And work from there. So like, all right, so here's a 30 SMA. And you could also, if you wanted to, you could define that price close greater than indicator, some moving average 30. So that you avoid getting into these trades when you're in a downtrend completely. So that would be another way to be thinking about this. Like you're buying this 3-8 cross no matter what, but maybe you only want to be buying this 3-8 cross when price is in a basic uptrend. And you can define price in a basic uptrend by saying it's above a longer term moving average. That would be a thought. So anyway, getting back to this idea here. Let me see. Yeah, so not many positions make it very far. And how many are we taking? 122. Yeah, so of those, really only like a quarter of them make it to this 3% gain. So let's try this. We'll do 1.2. Put a stop loss of 1.25. Put a take profit of 3. And see if this is getting us anywhere. So it's helping, but it's not really doing a whole heck of a lot. So we're going to tighten this up again. Yeah. I don't know. You'd have to play around with it, Arun. I'm going to go back to the OG idea that you had. Let's just go back to it. All right, and let's fix it up again. So we're getting out of this trade at 14 candles. I can't remember exactly what we did, but I know we said 14 candles. We want to be out no matter what. You see kind of what I'm doing, though, how I'm using the direction that my winners actually go as my means for kind of deciding where the bumpers need to be. Just so many positions, man. Which is why your average win is pretty low. There's just not, these things cross so often. But we'll keep trying to pin it down. To 6. So yeah, let's say like 2.5 and put a stop loss of 0.4. And then a take profit at 2.5. One thing you might want to try to do too, Arun, is you might want to try to slightly adjust these. Like instead of the 3.8, maybe try like the 5.15. See, we're getting somewhere. We're just not, our win rate and our risk reward don't quite jive. We need 7% better win rate in order for this strategy to like make sense. So then, I don't know, it kind of goes back to me, or for me, it goes back to this idea of like price and uptrend. Because you want to be buying these crosses when you're in a relative uptrend. So maybe let's tool around a little bit. Say we only want to get long if price is above a 21. And again, you might just have to play around and see. All right, so that reduced our returns. Let's make it a 30. And don't be afraid to try like off the cuff weird moving averages. You just never know what you're going to find. So this increased it, but still the win rate isn't very good. Let's make it the 50 and just see. Still the win rate isn't very good. Let's make it the 15 and see. Sometimes it is just a matter of trial and error. Yeah, so there's a sweet spot in there. Somewhere around the 30. Let's try a 40. Still the win rate, not quite right. All right, so let's do this. Let's tighten up the stop loss a little bit. No, needs to breathe. What if we loosened up the stop loss? Nothing wrong with trying different things. All right, so that didn't work. So the original that we had was 0.4. It worked best at 0.4. Again, remember, we have no-go highlighting, so this is not a strategy that you want to employ. But we're trying to think through ways to make it better. So that reduced it a little bit. What if it was 0.5? We also might want to increase our take profit. Let's try that real quick. Make it 3. Win rate's still not good enough. get out a little sooner. Win rate went up 2%. So now we're getting closer by getting out sooner. Let's make it 6 candles instead of 10. It was 14, remember originally. Win rate went quite up, but our average win went down. Let's tighten up this stop loss a little bit more. All right, we're getting a little bit closer. What does it need to be now? 48.9. Darn. Arun, I'm trying here, man. So win rate really drops off after like 6 candles. That's kind of interesting. So let's do this then. Let's remove all this stuff and try it again without the bumpers. All right, so now the win rate's 48%. 0.46, 2.23. It may just be that this ain't the right strategy, Arun. And that's okay. Yeah, every single change we make, it just increases that risk to reward ratio need, which is a little frustrating. But, you know, that's how it goes. You might, let's see, the other thing that I would kind of play around with, I need to make my own copy, is have you tried different time frames? Have you tried like a 10-minute or 15-minute? That might be another place to tool around. My gut instinct, though, is it's one, essentially. But it does compound. Susie. Yeah, so now we have, on the 15-minute, when we break it down, let's do this. Let's start over. I just think you're getting so many crosses that it's a little bit problematic. So here on 15-minute, same idea. 483 positions. You have no-go highlighting. So that's interesting, right? By just switching it to the 15-minute, it becomes a safer strategy. It doesn't beat buy and hold yet, but perhaps we can make it beat buy and hold. Let's see here. Really only about 20% of my positions made it to a 6% return. We definitely want to get out after, what, 40 candles or so? 43 candles. So let's start there. Let's get out after 40 candles. Rerun. So that helped a little. Not a ton, but it helped a little. We know that 96% of our winners draw down at most 0.6% before returning or before going positive, becoming winners. We know that not too many of them make it to these upper returns, 10%, 11%. Quite more of them make it to like 6.5. So maybe we want to put a stop around, like, we'll just make it loose, make it 1% and put a take profit at 6. Let's try that. What is advanced backtesting in Elite Plus tier? I think it's the amount of time you can look back. All right, so adding those little bumpers gave us a little bit of a boost. Not a ton, but a little bit. We could probably make it better. Let's get out after 32 candles now. Just kind of tightening things up a little bit. All right. Let's try the same idea here. Peak profit is about 22 candles. After that, it kind of trails. So maybe we want to even tighten it up more and say 22 so we don't give up those gains. Yeah, Susie, no problem. All right, so by tightening up a little, we actually lost profit. So that didn't help us. So we'll bring this back to 32. Yeah, so way more positions actually made it interesting. 108 positions made it to like a 4% profit, whereas only like 20 of them made it to 6. So again, then that maybe tells you that you need to be willing to take profit a little sooner for the sake of taking more trades. Let's try that. Again, I don't know how, I never know how these changes are going to affect things. So that didn't really work, but let's tighten up the stop and see if that helps. Make it 0.5% instead of 1%. Remember, we left it a little loose. You notice though, Arun, if you're still here, hopefully you're still here. You notice how each change that we're making, even though our returns aren't better than beating the asset, we're not seeing any no-go highlighting. So again, this is telling us that like this is a relatively safer strategy to employ because we're not seeing that no-go highlighting. I'm sure there are other ways that you could optimize here. But you would just want to play around with it. I am butting up on, I really do have to be getting out of here. But hopefully this has helped you a little bit. Hopefully, Arun. I would say jump to a 15-minute time frame and things dramatically improve when you do that. If you really are just are dead set on a 5-minute, you might want to be trying longer duration moving averages. I just think the how often these are crossing is a little problematic for you. Unless you wanted to use like some really big, like 100 or 100 SMA or something like that as like a big long tail. That could be your go or no go idea. So with that, guys, I'm going to get up out of here. Tomorrow is a new day. It's the day before Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be live again early, 10 a.m. Eastern time, probably for like an hour or so, hanging out. So if you have any questions that didn't get answered today, tune back in tomorrow morning. If you're a TrendSpider trader, thank you so much for being a trader on the platform. We have this Black Friday sale going on, and it ends on Sunday. So if you haven't taken advantage of it, do that now. Now is the time. And yeah, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm anxious to see what happens overnight. NVIDIA not really doing a whole heck of a lot here, huh? So it'll be interesting to see how things play out tomorrow. Again, I hope you all have a great evening. And holler at me if you need me. You know my Twitter. It's @Krutzky Trades. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow morning. All right. Take care.